Hello and welcome back to Data Analysis and Visualization. I'm Jovita Christie, and in this video, I'm going to explain to you the basics of clustering. So let's begin. Data scientists use clustering to help them divide their data into subsets, and they also use classification methods to help them build predictive models that they can then use to forecast and classify future data points. So clustering and classification are two machine learning methods that we will be discussing in data analysis and visualization. But for this video, we are going to mostly focus on clustering. And both these methods are used by data scientists to sort of do something with the current data set, current data points, so that it can then help them in future to forecast future data points. Clustering is a form of machine learning, and the machine in this case is your computer. And learning refers to an algorithm that's repeated over and over until a certain set of predetermined conditions are met. So it is a form of machine learning. And here, the learning algorithm is generally run up to a point where, in the final analysis, when the results are there, the results do not have any change, no matter how many times you run the algorithm again. So that is the point up to which that algorithm is going to be run. And that's how the algorithm learns. Clustering is one of the two main types of machine learning called unsupervised machine learning, meaning that the data in the dataset is unlabeled, which means the algorithms must use inferential methods to discover patterns, relationships, and correlations within the raw dataset. So clustering is one of the two types of machine learnings, and there are two main types. One is supervised, another one is unsupervised. And clustering is unsupervised because the data that you have is unlabeled, which means there is no human being sitting down and labeling the data or writing down rules for the algorithm to learn something. So that's how it is different from classification, which is a supervised machine learning method, and it uses labeled data because the labels make it easier for models to make decisions based on the logic rules that you have defined. So when you apply labels to your data set, when you take the trouble to label it, the algorithm obviously learns better because it does not have to make its own conclusions. Rather, it depends on what you have concluded. Now, the data set that I'm going to be using in this video is going to be this one. It's a readily available World Bank's open data set, and it shows some countries' incomes and education. So it shows that, what is the percentage of income earned by the bottom 10% of the population. Okay, bottom 10% of the population income-wise from each country, and also the percentage of children who complete primary school education in each of these countries. So there are just these two things given in World Bank's data set, which we will be using and which I'm going to be referring to in this video. Now, clustering algorithms are used to subdivide the data set into clusters or data points, into clusters of data points that are, similar to each other. So they have some attribute which is similar, and due to that, they are divided or grouped together. And if you have a data set that describes multiple attributes about a particular feature and you want to group your data points according to their attribute similarities, then you should use clustering algorithms. Now here is a scatter plot created out of the country income and education data set by World Bank that I talked about earlier. So you can see that in this plot, there is clearly an x-axis and a y-axis given. So there is x-axis contains the people's income, and the y-axis contains how many children finished primary education, the percentage. So for every country there is a data point or a dot available in this scatter plot. Now in unsupervised clustering, you start with this kind of data, then you proceed to divide it into subsets, and these subsets are called clusters, and they are basically created because you have a scatter plot and you know that these points are close together, so you just divide them or group them together. And it appears that there are at least 2 clusters in the graph that we figure that we just saw, or maybe 3. You can see there's one at the bottom. I'm going to show it to you, which has low income and education, and then there's high education countries that are split between low and high income. This is the original scatter plot that we just saw, and we can divide it like this. So you can see there's this whole group of points that are down, and there's a whole group of points up, which we have divided into 2 different parts. So these are the 3 groups created, 3 clusters created just by looking at the scatter plot. So although it is very easy to just look at the scatter plot and create your clusters, it's not always advisable, because sometimes you might just have, points which are really large in number. For example, you might have like 1 lakh values, which is the case in most machine learning data sets. So for a smaller data set, it is okay to just do a rough estimation. But for a larger data set, you would require some algorithm to actually do this work for you. And the purpose of clustering the data is so that next time when a data point comes up, for example, if I provide to you a country's income percentage, which is not given in your current data set, then you'll be able to put that income percentage somewhere in the scatter plot and be able to identify what could be the percentage of primary education in that country just by placing that data point into the scatter plot. Because now you know that if it falls into a certain cluster, you'll be able to tell what should be the corresponding y-axis or x-axis value. Clustering algorithms are appropriate in situations where the following characteristics are true. So you cannot apply clustering everywhere. There has to be some condition due to which you can apply it. So first condition is that you know and understand the data set you're analyzing. You have to understand the data set that you're analyzing. Before running the clustering algorithm, you don't have an exact idea as to the nature of the subsets, which means the clusters. Often you won't even know how many subsets there are in the data set before you run the algorithm. So only in such situation should you use a clustering algorithm. The subsets or clusters are determined by only the one data set that you're analyzing. So you should not be combining more than one data set together in order to identify the clusters. Your goal is to determine a model that describes the subsets in a single data set and only this data set. Now we are going to discuss some similarity metrics, because these are also very important. Both clustering as well as classification, which we will be discussing in later videos, are based on calculating the similarity or difference between 2 data points. And if your data set is numeric, which means it only contains fields that contain numbers and values, then it can be portrayed on an n-dimensional plot. Then there are various geometric metrics that you can use to scale your multidimensional data because it is numerical. Now, what is an n-dimensional plot? An n-dimensional plot is a multidimensional scatter plot chart that you can use to plot n number of dimensions of your data. Usually we only have x and y axis, which is 2D, but obviously your data set could be having more attributes than just 2 attributes, and which is why to plot such a data, you would be using a scatter plot, but you would be using an n-dimensional plot to create that scatter plot. Some popular geometric metrics used for calculating distances between data points include Euclidean, Manhattan, or Minkowski distance metrics. So there are 3 distance metrics, and I'm pretty sure you must be familiar with the Euclidean one because that's the most widely used, and if you studied statistics or mathematics, you would be probably knowing this. So these metrics are just different geometric functions that are useful for modeling distances between points, because the clusters are created based on how close or far away they are from each other. So you have to measure the distance, and to measure the distance, we have these 3 very popular geometric metric techniques, which are Euclidean, Manhattan, and Minkowski distance metrics. Now, the Euclidean metric is a measure of the distance between points plotted on an Euclidean plane. So there is a plane called a Euclidean plane, and when points are plotted on that, then you just measure the distance by using Euclidean metric. We are not going to get into the details of that for now because we usually have a program doing all these things for us, and we don't really need to understand how exactly that is happening behind the scenes. The Manhattan metric is a measure of distance between points where distance is calculated as the sum of the absolute value of the differences between the 2 points. So you're just taking a sum of the absolute value of the differences between the 2 points and just adding all that up together, which gives you the Manhattan metric. And Cartesian coordinates are used in this case. Cartesian coordinates are xy coordinates or xyz, or depending on how many dimensions you have. The Minkowski distance metric is a generalization of Euclidean and Manhattan metrics, and quite often they are used interchangeably, which means you can change one for the other and use it. If your data is numeric but non-plottable, for example, if you have curves instead of points, then it's quite difficult to plot curves. Then you can generate similarity scores based on differences between data instead of the actual values of the data itself. So you could just find out the difference between the data itself instead of checking the data points and plotting them, because you cannot plot them directly on a scatter plot. Now, lastly, for non-numeric data, that means data that contains alphabets or any other characters, you can use metrics like the Jaccard distance metric, which is an index that compares number of features that 2 data points have in common. This is a very famous popular technique, which is Jaccard distance metric, which compares 2 data points, by finding out number of features that are common between them. For example, if you had to illustrate this Jaccard distance technique, then think about the following 2 strings: Saint Louis de Jaja, Quebec, and Saint Louis de Jaja, and there is QC. So there are two things. What features do these text strings have in common? What do they have in common? And what features are different between them? So obviously the strings are quite similar up to the up to HA, after which there's an exclamation point, whereas in the other one there's a hyphen. So the Jaccard metric generates a numerical index value that quantifies the similarity between the text strings. So when you look at these two, how similar are they? They are quite similar because they practically contain all the same types of characters, except one contains a hyphen, another has an exclamation point, and there are some extra characters in the first string than in the second one. So That way, we know that, but they are also quite similar. And so the Jacquard metric actually allows you to find, to rather quantify this similarity or dissimilarity between two strings. That is how it works. So this is where I'm going to end Introduction to Basics of Clustering, and you'll see in the future videos a little bit more about clustering. So I'll see you there, and thank you for watching.